Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to RuneScape TV. Joining me today, mods Mark and Kelpie. We're going to talk to us a little about the ongoing discussion about the update schedule and how frequent it should continue to be.
Why not?
And also provide us a quick update to the state of RuneLabs.
Yep. Woohoo!
And sort of what's coming next and the next steps for the current leader.
Yep, indeed.
First, however, we do have an apology to make. We haven't put any April Fool's content in the game this year at all for tomorrow.
Such a shame, isn't it?
Despite the best efforts of the DevCom team, there is nothing in-game April Fool's wise.
Indeed.
So to prevent this from happening again, we're going to be running a competition for this week's RuneScape TV to give us the best April Fool's gag ideas for in-game. And we'll obviously be giving a little prize.
Why not?
I've managed to lay my hands on a complete set of the Elf City Clan's poker chips from RuneFest this year gone, and we will be giving those to the April Fool's idea for in-game that Mod Kelpie thinks is the best.
Oh no!
At the end of the stream.
You get to pick.
Well, it was Mod Mark last time.
Oh, that's
okay.
good.
So it's your turn this time.
We can just judge him.
Okay.
No, he's doing the judging.
Yeah, but we can judge.
We can judge him.
My judging.
Yeah.
What do we win?
Judge his judgment.
So,
Prepare to be judged.
the update schedule then.
Yeah, sorry.
We've got a blog out.
Yes, we do.
Had a blog out since last week, and in fact we
Yes.
mentioned on last week's RuneScape TV that it was going up and invited people to comment. People have commented. We've got 28 pages or so of discussion going on.
Good.
Which is good. And so what we want first is just a summary of what is it we're proposing for the benefit of anyone who hasn't gone and seen it.
Do you want to take this or shall I?
You.
Well, we've been thinking for a while about our update frequency. Basically, we're always doing content, we're always working on content, and there's always a mixture of kind of really tiny things like the Ninja updates, then we've got small content projects, medium-sized content projects, large content projects, and then kind of epically massive content projects as well. We know that when we did RuneLabs, there was a lot of feedback from players saying, well, you know, the ideas that we want are either really, really big or really, really small. They didn't really fit those kind of middle categories of kind of small, medium-sized projects. We know that because the first time we asked, most of the suggestions that we were getting were either really, really big or really quite small. We also know that we did a lot of surveys and things like that towards the end of last year, and we kept getting feedback from players that there were things that we were adding to the game that they liked, they just hadn't got round to playing it yet. So we know there were a lot of players that, for them, perhaps the update frequency wasn't so important because they weren't playing the content as we were launching it. So, and there were a few things that had come up, even things like the inventor skill, when we were talking about that. You know, whilst there were many different reasons why we decided not to make it a skill, one of the big important things was just simply the amount of development time it would cost. And when I say cost, I don't mean money, I mean time.
Yep.
It's always really important.
It always comes down to time.
Yeah. So, and to keep our release schedule healthy, to make sure that we're constantly releasing content every month, we need to make sure we've got this mixture of small, medium and large projects. But lots of the feedback we were getting was kind of making us ask the question, is it really massively important that we continue to do a number, you know, multiple 3, 4 updates every month for the players? Maybe it would be better if we asked the question, how about we do less updates, but that each update we do has a much more significant presence in the game. Something where you feel like you want to be doing it straight away. It's not something where you feel like, oh, well, it's kind of cool, but I'm just going to leave it and I'll do it when I get round to it. You know, something that genuinely makes a difference to the way that you play the game and the content that you consume. So really, that's why we put the blog out, and that's why the poll's live today. It's asking that question, what do you think is important when it comes to the frequency of updates that we do? Do you want it to stay the same? Do you want it to be the same as what we're currently doing? So a mixture of different sizes, multiple updates every month? Or would you rather that we focused our attention on making those updates that we do deliver as good as we can possibly make them, and make them, you know, really mean something in terms of the game? An important thing to clarify now would be, we wouldn't intend to change the amount of Ninja style updates or really small updates that we work on. We would still do all of those things, but it would probably mean, if we change things, that we'd be working on less small to medium sized pieces of content. And finally, a lot of the data that we have suggests that it's the small and medium sized projects that players just don't play.
Because they get overwhelmed by the sheer number of them that come out that we ask them to then
user
blast
analytics.
Yeah.
Number of key projects from last year that we see like day one spikes, and then after that no one really touching it and stuff.
Yeah.
And we can make those a lot more meaningful.
So a number of players very dedicated, complete all the content immediately and then leave it for the next week's whatever comes out. Yeah. So to summarise then, the options are keep the schedule as it is, try and get an update out every week or as close to.
Yep.
Or to go to at least one major content update a month and Ninja fixes, patch notes, DevCon releases, that sort of thing within the gaps.
That's correct.
Yep.
And having posted the dev blog on the forums and gathered a fair chunk of sentiment that indicates that people are open to this, we've put the poll live as of this afternoon at...
this morning, yeah.
Oh, late this morning.
Yeah, it's been live for a few hours.
And initial opinion seems to be quite in favour of make that update schedule slower, larger updates rather than stick to the weekly.
I mean, it's only been a few hours.
It's only been a few hours.
That's the early indications that we have. I mean, we always like to at least wait for 24 hours, 48 hours before we start drawing too many conclusions. And of course, the polls were up for what, a week, 2 weeks, a week?
Yeah, they're on for a week, yeah.
So still all to play for if you've got a particularly vested interest.
But I think it's important to clarify that it is an opinion poll. It's not, we will definitely do this from now out. If it's kind of, you've got a mixture of votes and stuff, then that will probably, how far we go will probably depend based on this poll and opinions, really.
Yeah. It again falls under the category of the health of the game.
Yeah,
that we consider that this change may need to be done.
And we've got people reading the forums specifically looking for comments on this subject as well. It's something that we're really thinking about quite carefully right now. And so if you've got an opinion on it, then now's the time to let us know. Yep.
And that's in chat as well as on the forums and through Twitter, and we'll...
Any way you like, yeah.
Any we see in chat we'll try and get to today, and otherwise, obviously, we'll keep communications up through the forums, through our news posts, and the like.
Yeah, the post on the forum's pretty good. It's written by ModPips, our boss.
Yep. Sadly couldn't be with us today.
No, unfortunately not. So enjoying a holiday somewhere, rightly so as well. He works far too hard.
I didn't think JMods were allowed to take.
Oh no, I think they are. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
But there's lots of information in the forum post. There's a kind of Q&A afterwards, which will answer a few of the most commonly asked questions. So hopefully you'll be able to find some answers in there. Give it a read, then go and let us know what you think on the polls.
Yep.
And speaking of questions, I have some.
Good.
Scraped from Twitter and the forums a little earlier, and being filled in by the RuneScape TV elves as we speak from the Twitter chat. First one from Mr. Kalius. Can we expect more useful updates if this new schedule goes ahead?
That's one of the main motivations for us wanting to make a change, is that we can, I mean, you can't guarantee that everyone's going to find them as useful as everybody else, but it means that we can put more attention and more effort in each update that we work on, which should result in those pieces of content being more useful.
I've got to ask this one. Well, this is an opinion.
He's got a troll face. I can see he's got a troll face. He's trying to fight it back.
A number of people have suggested that they are absolutely fine with this, as long as it means they get a new quest every month.
No.
That's not something we can guarantee, no.
No. I think the mix of updates that we put out is going to have to still maintain a balance of appeal to different parts of our audience.
That's right.
We have questers, we have skillers, we have PvPers. We need to maintain a mix of those, I think.
Mm-hmm. I mean, ModPips answered the question on quests on the blog. We certainly won't get fewer quests. Definitely won't be doing that. It could potentially lead to more. I feel like there's some other factors with quests as well. It's not just updates and stuff, you know, it's how much work we dedicate to them. Like there's been a number of quests already this year, number ones we're still working on, such as the vampires, very big quests that do take a long time to develop. And that's why we get kind of fewer throughout the years.
We've got 2 actively in development right now,
yes,
haven't we?
And both of them are quite large.
Yeah. One thing we know is that there's no such thing as a small quest. We've tried to do those things in the past, and players haven't really been excited by them in the way that we would want to. So if anything, this kind of allows us to focus more attention on bigger updates, which is a good thing for all bits of content.
Excellent. Eadric asks, will we still get updates on progress via BTS videos, the monthly BTS post, and all of that sort of thing if we're not updating once a week?
Well, BTS post is a really important thing to me. It has been for a very long time. It isn't my intention to change the monthly videos and posts that we put out there. It might mean that those things have a little bit more attention on the Ninja style updates that we do. And of course, we'll still have significant content coming in every month, which is worth talking about. So I'm still intending to be writing the behind the scenes monthly news posts, and we still intend to have videos to support all of the content that we launch.
Excellent. A fear now, I think, rather than a question, from Immortal572 on the forums. One wonders where the other 571 are.
Well, they must still be here because they're immortal.
If they're immortal, they probably haven't died, at least.
Yeah.
Eventually, RuneScape will make a poll for one super huge update a year, as opposed to the 4 a month that we currently get. Would you care to address that fear? Is that likely that we'll go to...
No, I don't think so. I think kind of like once per month, like as a minimum, is kind of like the biggest kind of gap between updates we would ever go, sort of thing. There's certain players who have enjoyed just kind of, as we say, going in on day one, especially if we're making them more meaningful, going in, kind of like playing through the content and stuff, and looking forward to the next sort of thing. You don't want to increase that gap much longer, really. And I think for us as well, like it's the case of like we're talking about them being more updates, being more meaningful and stuff, but that doesn't mean every update is going to be this huge big update now. We're not going to bloat things needlessly. We're going to make sure they're meaningful, but that doesn't mean everything has to be super large. Take summoning AI improvements that we did fairly recently, so late last year, I believe. That was the correct size for that project. That was a meaningful update. We improved them. We didn't tack on any needlessly other bits to it.
Yeah.
And that was a kind of a small medium type update.
Right. So that sort of covers this from James Hums in the chat. That
is that his full name?
James Hums.
James Hums in the chat.
James Hums in the chat.
Oh, shame.
The chat that we monitor.
Is he humming? Give us a hum, James. Anyway.
No, got nothing. Just wanting to be sure that if there are fewer updates, that it does mean that the real size of playable content is bigger, not just the amount of time for dev and graphics and QA to work on it as such. So I think the thrust here is if we're putting out a content update every month, will there be a month's worth of play in it?
I don't think that you can answer that as a general question, because it really depends on the kind of updates that we're working on.
Yeah.
I would say it's not our intention for them to have less to do, because the things that there are there to do will be a lot more meaningful and will be things that people want to do rather than feel like they're things they have to do.
Yeah.
So I do feel that there's a bit of that at the moment. It's
not like we put out weekly updates at the moment and each update lasts for 1 week and then you get the next update and it lasts for another week, Yeah.
Ryan Star Wars asks if ninjas are sort of holding up more of the off weeks. Will they get more allowance? Will they get more, presumably, time and people?
Quite possibly, yes.
It would be good if they could do more updates like the Pyramid Plunder graphics update.
Yeah.
We are discussing whether or not we should add an extra ninja or two to that team.
Excellent. Metal Foxy asks, will the updates be limited to brand new content only, or will there be any reworks of minigames, etc.?
Reworks is a good example actually, because we know that we cannot do reworks as small or medium-sized pieces of content. So if we're on average investing more time in a singular update, then it's more likely that that could be a rework.
Excellent.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds good.
I mean, it does depend on what the actual project is. I mean, like recently we didn't necessarily rework Demon Flash mobs, we improved them, but and that was a kind of small kind of update. But yeah, I think when people tend to talk about reworks, they are talking about kind of mini games and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, agility.
So that sort of covers Rikugan Tai's question that if there are fewer updates, does that mean that there's more chance of skill reworks and so forth?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
We have to be really careful with reworks, of course, because there are a lot of things that people love that
Yeah.
whether from a design perspective we might think they're a bit flawed, it shouldn't mean that we change them. You know, we've learnt a lot in the last few years.
Yes. Question from Aaron RS on the forums, I believe. What will be done about MTX update frequency if the change happens?
It's not our intention to change that.
No
They're a
change,
kind of
no.
separate team. So I don't think that Phil phrased this quite well on the post. Those things don't change. So we wouldn't change the number of patch notes we do. We wouldn't reduce the number of Ninja updates or anything like that. And MTX Solomon Store type updates would fit into that category. We wouldn't intend to change that frequency.
Excellent. And Singularity on probably Twitter suggests they don't really mind what direction we take as long as the bug fixing and patch notes are kept as is, which I think represents the feelings of a fair chunk of the forums from what I could see.
Indeed.
So we'll presumably make sure that we keep up the effort in there.
Yep.
Of course.
Excellent. What about doing multiple small updates but all released at once?
So, whilst that feels like a big update, it isn't. I mean, he's phrased it interestingly there, in that it's not a large update. It's just a series of small updates. And if you think about the effort associated with each of those smaller updates, we're not increasing the amount of effort with those smaller updates. So you'd end up with a handful of things that didn't really make a lot of difference, all just bundled up at the same time. Doesn't mean they make more of a difference because you've bundled them up. So it's kind of a bit flawed, I think, personally.
And if it's separate projects, it's easier for us to release them independently, like each week, rather than all together.
So it loses some of the benefit of moving to bigger updates if we then stay on the smaller updates.
A big update is not a collection of small updates. It's one significant thing which makes a change to the way that makes a change to the content you consume in the game.
Excellent. So, Mr. Carlius asks what our opinion is on the player response to this, whether sort of the players rallying around into the thread is heartening, and the various back and forth that we've experienced on the forums.
So talking from a personal perspective, I would say that I always suspect that RuneScape players are worried about change, and any concept of change is immediately something that they just say no, no, no to. So even the fact that people are talking about it and considering it is a really, really good thing, and that makes me happy.
Yep. I personally think that we get quite a lot out of the various channels that we talk to players through.
Yeah.
Whether it be Twitter or the forums or Twitch chat, we get things that we wouldn't have considered otherwise.
But equally, this is just a question, as Jane was saying earlier. It's just a question. What we do with the answers, we're not quite sure yet. We're just trying to get a temperature check from the players, what they really think about it, and the fact that we're taking it seriously and we've done forum posts about it and there's a poll. It shows the players, I think, that we're really seriously considering these things right now. And it's a good thing to see that we're having a proper two-way conversation about it. And I think that kind of encapsulates this whole kind of player-focused vibe that we've got going on right now. It's not we're going to do this and then, oh, what are you going to think about it afterwards? It's we're thinking about these things now. Help us to make the right decisions. Yeah. It's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. So obviously the discussion doesn't come to an end just because the poll has started.
Nope.
Any comment on that thread or via any of the usual channels obviously still welcomed. But the poll is live, so make your vote known if you haven't already. I think we're going to move on now to a quick update from RuneLabs.
Yeah.
But before we do so, I've been asked to do the community roundup.
Sure thing.
So, Player Gallery 51 competition is still underway. It's the last week. You have precisely one more week to get your player art in for Simply the Quest. That's the theme of this Player Gallery, Simply the Quest. So, you can stand to win unique signed concept art, feedback from one of our own artists, a week's free membership, 200 rune coins, and we'll throw in a bonus XP lamp as well. So,
cool.
So that can't be bad. Get your entries in if you haven't already. Directly after...
We're going to get some like Tina Turner themed art. That would be awesome. Like, or you know, if people even remember Tina Turner, because it was quite some time ago.
I remember something
Maybe you could get like a Mad Max. Maybe it's Tina Turner in Mad Max.
Something about corrugated iron and spikes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, well...
Yeah, let's have it.
I don't know if we can promise this.
I'd be really disappointed if that's not what we see. Anyway, I interrupted you. I apologise.
You heard it here first. Tina Turner stands to win the Player Gallery somehow. Take that with a pinch of salt. Directly after this stream, we have Team Chicken versus Team Egg at Soul Wars. That's with mods Kalaya and John. And that's on World 44 when this stream ends. So probably in about 20 minutes' time. On Wednesday, 4 o'clock game time, we've got a hide and seek with Nina and John. That's on World 3, starting at Edgeville Bank, and there are 2 bonds up for grabs as prizes for the winning team. So get in on that and maybe win some free days of membership or whatever you happen to want to use your bonds for. If you can't do that, Wednesday, 2200 game time. Mod Lee is running a game of Stealing Creation on World 45. That's starting at the Gamers Grotto, as it does. And Friday at 0030 game time. So probably easier to get to for those in the US, perhaps.
Yep.
Again, being run by Mod Lee, which makes a certain amount of sense. The Great Old Project. I almost said the Grand Old Party because I've just got the acronym written down here, but I think it's probably the Great Old Project. At World 100 Runecrafting Guild. So get on those, and they're always a good time.
Yeah.
And remember, the forums do have a link in the events and ongoing stuff.
Yep.
Part of the forum, there is a thread that shows you where it all is and when.
And I'm sure we're going to have some awesomely cool community events coming up, especially with your new special tool, right?
That's for another
a whole other stream.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be bringing those out shortly. But
We'll praise the cabbage.
we can cover that later on. So, RuneLabs.
Yes.
While we take in some more best in-game April Fool's competition entries from the chat, if they happen by, tell us about the current state of the RuneLabs.
Cool. So this morning, the March criteria ended and the April one started. So first of all, I think we should highlight the top 4 options from March. These will be going to a poll on Thursday. So going through them in order of top to bottom, I guess. The first one was the Seren quest featuring elven-themed prayers and spells. And that was submitted by Gaga Lady. So for those who don't know so much about it, it was essentially what the title said. It's elven-themed quest, themed around like Seren, maybe putting Seren together.
Yeah, getting the pieces and rebuilding Seren.
Not totally sure if we will actually be putting Seren together within the quest. Still up to design and stuff. The actual quest was left quite open. People who've looked at it before will notice that Nomad was mentioned as one of the things that could be involved, and we've already said no to that as we did not feel like that fit in with the lore.
Not really.
And that's generally with RuneLabs, like if we feel like stuff is lore breaking, we will reject it. Another thing that was mentioned was the Soul Altar, and again, that wasn't really like something we felt was linked to the elves. And we also thought there was a lot going on with just that one quest that we didn't need to include the soul altar as well. So that was also bit was also rejected, but the rest of it is all perfectly fine. Yeah, so that was good. I don't know if any further opinions about that?
No, like a quest all about Seren sounds good to me. There's some interesting things that players want to explore when it comes to the Elf City and concepts involving Seren. And obviously we did some quite cool things to do with her relationship with other gods more recently. So it'd be interesting to explore that for sure. It's quite exciting getting quest proposals through from the players, particularly quests that we haven't even talked about ourselves in the past. It's nice to see.
Yeah, that one, I don't think the subject ever came up as part of Mod Osborne's Pillars.
No.
So, I mean, obviously it ties in quite well to the 6th Age with
it does.
The events that have happened so far.
Yes.
I think it's also just to mention more about the prayers and spells. This was something that you came up with when the guys were designing the Elf City. It was unfortunately something that never really came about, as they just generally ran out of time.
But it is something we knew we wanted to do.
Yeah, definitely.
That we already have a few ideas for.
I think it's worth mentioning that you were talking more about kind of like prayers and spells that are linked more to skilling. But we're not fully sure on exactly what they all do and stuff, so I'm sure the team would take on ideas for what these spells and prayers could do should that win.
Well, certainly with all of the RuneLabs stuff, we want to really deliver the vibe of the content that's being pitched by the players, but what is possible for us to do from a development, from a design and from a lore perspective it always fluctuates. But certainly the concept of a Seren quest, all about furthering the kind of backstory of Seren within a quest, and then having the players play around potentially with some reward items themed to do with the elves, whether they're prayers or spells or whatever, we don't really know, possibly skilling orientated. That's the kind of vibe that we want to produce. But if it wins,
we keep in fairly close contact with the winners of.
Oh, of course.
Polls,
they become part of the development process,
like a stakeholder,
as much as we can.
Sort of
we sort of invite them into.
Yeah, if they're nearby, no worries.
I think we were debating doing that for the winner of the last one, the Adamant and Rune Dragons. We were going to set up
with those guys. We did. We definitely with the dragons because that was in RuneLabs. There was footage, so I remember that. But we do try to contact people. Obviously, geographically, if they're close by, then we can bring them in. But otherwise, Skype calls and such.
But to make sure that their vision is maintained.
Yeah, I like to think of it like an executive producer.
Yeah.
So you see film credits and you've got like, oh, this famous actor was an executive producer for this, which means that they would be consulted as part of the process of it being created, without necessarily being a creator themselves in the process. And that's what we intend for anyone who's won RuneLab polls.
Yeah, so they can be sure that their opinions have been seen directly by the dev team, and they can be sure that anything that isn't possible, they've at least had a reason why. Excellent.
And just a final mention, I was looking over the text again today, it does mention spellbook, but it won't be a new spellbook. It will be an addition to the Ancient Magics, I believe. We had a poll, when the guys were designing the Elf City and such, there was a poll for this and players voted for Ancient Magic, so we will be generally sticking to the stuff that we've already decided with those things. If it wins. If it wins, indeed.
Yep.
Cool. So the next one is Rite of Passage, and that was submitted by Sweetak. Is that how?
That was great.
There's a lot of things here that I don't know how to pronounce.
I've not heard of that one before.
Yep. So this feature, so for those who don't know, this is a quest that you've talked about before, haven't you?
Yes, I talked about it at RuneFest.
Yeah,
all about the concept of an Aviness, one of the bird creatures associated with Armadillo, and their kind of rite of passage. So them growing from
Aviancy.
Aviancy, yeah, there we go.
I'm so glad I didn't want to pronounce any of these things.
And yeah, so it's the concept of this young bird creature coming of age, and the kind of trials that they might be asked to do, and would involve the player kind of exploring the realms associated with Armadillo.
So Abner, the homeworld.
See, I avoided saying it there. Well done, thank you very much.
Bear in mind, I sit opposite Mod Raven, who has promised to murder his way through the JMods until he gets the chance to work on this quest.
So
should it win.
Conceptually quite similar to the things that we talked about at RuneFest, but we'd want to add a little bit more exploration in there as well, give players a reason to kind of explore the floating islands that would be associated with the content.
Yes, indeed. I think there's much more to mention with that one.
Those first two were quite close in the voting.
Yeah, they were indeed.
Throughout.
For a long time, Rite of Passage was top.
We've got a lot of bird lovers out there.
We do.
Well, yeah, you're a Bandosian though, so.
Yeah, damn right.
Yep, I also was on Bandos' side. Rest in peace.
So if we were completely Bandosian, we'd be enough talking,
Yeah.
smash, destroy, and you know.
We could still do that.
We could do that, couldn't we?
Maybe
Right,
that's how we'll end the stream.
Maybe if he puts that troll face on again, yeah, we'll go for it.
Yep. Cool. So the next one. So those were both quests. Interestingly, the next two are both skilling related.
Yeah, it's always exciting to see skilling content versus questing content, I think.
So it was from Count Jacula, and that was for a farming guild. And yeah, that was sound quite interesting. Again, not something we've ever really discussed, as far as I'm aware.
We did discuss it when we first created farming which was quite some time ago. And the concept that you know, you'd have access to special patches via a farming guild. There'd be more of the same, and even maybe ideas like greenhouses and things like that, which is very similar to what he's proposed.
Definitely. Greenhouses, farming patches, new plants. Someone mentioned in a meeting the other day, and this isn't part of the idea, but potentially something we could do, which I think sounds cool, which is a grow your own farming guild.
Right.
Or maybe the community has to grow it own, because I'm not sure if everyone could grow in their.
What are they growing?
The guild itself.
The buildings?
Oh, right, okay.
I think it'd be pretty cool. I just like the sound of it.
Buildings.
Right, so you'd actually grow the guild.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty cool. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe it's like across the ground, or maybe it's like a beanstalk and it's got each giant leaf has another floor in it or something.
It'd be like an offshoot of the grand tree. So you sort of plant a new grand tree and it's got like a farming patch on the top of it. That sounds pretty cool.
Didn't really think much of it, I just thought it sounded really cool.
Got me more excited about the idea now,
definitely.
even though that wasn't any way part of what the player proposed. Count Jacula. Let's have some of that.
Cool. And then the final one is from King Clucky, and that is for kind of like general agility training improvements. So it's to kind of like make them more fun, essentially, less click intensive, bit more AFK, some new alternative methods. So the examples they mentioned, I believe, was like a thieving one, like you reusing the rooftops in Al-Qarid, and kind of like maybe chasing someone down or running away yourself, and so that sort of thing. With Elf City, we obviously added in like the pillars which you stand on and pull the poses, and
I quite like that.
And it's a nice alternative. So you kind of a bit more stuff like that. It's kind of what they're generally looking for.
Conceptually, that idea of the player being an athlete and feeling like an athlete and doing cool things with their agility. We need to make it a bit more fun. I really, always liked things like the agility arena. That was always quite a cool thing to do. But we didn't really keep going with it, and maybe providing more alternative ways of gaining XP at higher levels is the kind of thing we might be able to do. I think it's worthwhile pointing out as well with the farming update and with the agility update, when we're working on things around skills, we've always got in the back of our mind coming up with new reasons for players to train these things, not just make it fun for them to train, but also new motivations for them to train.
Yep.
So where possible, we'll make sure that we include those kind of things in there.
Just regarding the farming guild, from Nathaniel in the chat,
cool name.
That we should add flamethrowers, so if you don't like the way the guild has grown, you can burn it down and start again.
That sounds very similar to...
That's a prestige mechanic, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess it is. It's a bit like pulling the plug in
it is a bit like pulling the plug.
I mean, like when the people who grow crops in like the rainforest, they burn the rainforest down.
Yes.
All the ash fertilizes the ground, so it makes sense.
It's part of crop rotation.
Yep.
Isn't it?
Indeed.
As long as you don't sow it with salt as well. So we've got
that
the top
kind
four.
of covers the top four. So that will be going into a poll on Thursday. And so you'll be able to vote on that for a week, which would be good. And have you guys got any personal favourites, or do you not want to say?
nice to see rite of passage in there, because obviously we had a motivation to do it ourselves, but things changed. So I always am excited when players get excited about the things that we've been excited about. I'm going to say excited again, just to fill out that sentence with excitedness. So I like to see that, but equally I'm really grabbed by players who are coming up with completely new things that I haven't heard about before. The Farming Guild was, for me, the most exciting one on there in terms of things that we've never talked about, haven't talked about for like 6 or 7 years. And I quite like the idea. I always think that farming is a kind of underrated skill. It's easy for players to forget about because you can just sort of do tiny bits of farming every day and you get a nice, decent XP rate. And it would be nice to be able to do some more interesting things with farming.
Yeah, so for me, it's certainly, I like players coming up with original ideas. That's what excites me the most when I'm reading this sort of stuff. So
I'm afraid I can't vote for Rite of Passage, because if it does win, then I lose access to Mod Raven for like 3 months while he builds it.
Right.
Well, we'll have to work something out, because I'm sure. Well, I think we'll definitely have to include Raven somehow. So
I admit I also do have a soft spot for farming.
Yeah.
Obviously I built ports, and
and
it's the same asynchronous content. There's a certain amount of fire and forget that I think is healthy to have in RuneScape.
And we had a good go with some new seeds and things like that. Not last year, the year before.
Year before last.
Yeah. So we always want to do interesting things with farming. So it'd be interesting to see what that might come out as. But I think the concept of 2 quests versus 2 skill updates, it might result in some interesting things.
Divide the community.
Yeah.
So, having established what's going on with this round, what's the criteria for next round?
Yes, so as I said, we've launched April's criteria now, and what we're looking for is medium-sized skilling updates. So we've looked at our schedule for later on in the year. I believe I can't remember what month this update would likely come out. September, I believe.
Yeah, it's just after the summer, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And we've kind of, we've already mentioned previously that we're doing like raids and such. So we know we've got a lot of kind of like combat and questing type updates, and need some more kind of like skilling updates. So criteria for this month is skilling, medium size only. So we won't be accepting small ideas. We want them to be medium. So kind of like think Herblore Habitat, Elder Divination, the aquarium that the guys are already working on, and the Ectofuntus, if that's pronounced correctly.
Yeah. Funtus.
Funtus. It doesn't have that second C.
What? C in it.
All of the names around there are weird. It's like Port Phasmatis instead of Port Phantasmus.
I call it Phasmatas.
Phasmatas.
Just for fun. It's far more fun.
That's like disco.
It is a bit.
I like that.
Yeah.
Get it on with the Phasmatas.
We're talking potential uses for ecto tokens there. I don't half have a lot of ecto tokens.
If someone comes up with it, I mean, the thing to bear in mind with ecto tokens is there's already a lot in the game.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult.
We thought about an ecto we thought about some kind of update for tokens, and in the end, I decided not to do it because just player outrage was like, I threw all those damn things away. I had millions, but that doesn't mean we won't do it. We just didn't before.
Oh, fair enough then.
Get us your medium-sized skill-based suggestions, and we'll see what we can.
It's interesting. The current leader is Soul Rune Altar, and new skilling spells,
proposing?
and
it's
then
not
that's
a
from
Soul Rune
bulk
Altar.
supply. So I mean that's quite similar to the Elven Seren quest with spells and prayers that we mentioned before. So if the Elf quest does win, then perhaps that will need some changing, because I don't think we've already mentioned talking about skilling spells and such, so I don't think we'll be looking to add even more so soon afterwards. I mean, we won't be able to have any good ideas of it anymore.
There's always good ideas.
Okay.
It's just never enough time to do all of them.
But that's interesting, and then a lot of kind of like Elven City ones.
Excellent. Honourable mentions from this last round just gone? Anything that perhaps didn't get much traction, but you felt were interesting or spoke to you on a personal level?
To be honest, all the ones that were kind of like bar the agility one, the other 3 ideas that were mentioned in the BTS, the last RuneLabs BTS, all kind of stuff that I dug out. So kind of underwater area to explore and stuff. What else was there? The God Sagas. I mean, it sounds cool. You learning how Zamorak stabbed Zaros in the back and stuff like that. I can't remember what the other one is now. Oh, it was, no, Rites of Passage was there as well. So yeah, that and the agility. So 2 of them were actually in the top.
For me, obviously, Fossil Island. I was glad to see it there. I've still not given
Thumbs
up
up
on
from
that.
Maz.
It's like, one of these days, just going to make it. Damn it.
Yeah, we were going to do it for April Fools, but then obviously we didn't do any April Fools content this year. So we had to skip
Getting
that.
the Bandos rage on now. And there was also another thing that I saw, which was to do with the God Wars dungeons. It was like a little offshoot. It didn't really get a lot of traction, I think because it got proposed quite late. But it was quite an interesting idea. It was to do with different areas to explore within the God Wars dungeon, and kind of there was an interesting idea in there as well to do with merging God Swords so that the value of them is maintained, which is quite nice.
That was quite nice.
It was like a really good level of thought from the player, which is, you know, it's always nice when you read an idea and you're like, I cannot pick any holes in that. It's good.
Yeah. I quite liked one I saw that ended up, I think, with 2 supports that suggested that we pull all of the teleport spells into their own tab. So rather than having to switch between Ancients and regular, you'd have all of your teleports unlocked as you unlocked them, and then you just have to switch between Ancient and regular for combat spells and utility spells, which might mean they get a bit more use. It's a little thing, but I thought it was quite nice.
Yeah.
Sadly, of course, my favourite player suggestion ever wasn't part of RuneLabs at all, because it predated RuneLabs. It was from the forums back in the days of the old project management system even, where a player suggested the rope you attach to your head. And the idea was that this rope could be used to climb up cliffs.
Like a rope?
So you've attached it to your head somehow, and you can use it to scale cliffs, so it's like extra agility shortcuts. You can use it as, I believe, an Abyssal Whip substitute. You can merge an Abyssal Whip with it and use it as a weapon. You could use it as a helicopter so you could fly. All sorts of uses for this rope you attach to your head. Fantastic. Absolutely flawless.
Okay. Good luck with
that. That's great. So I do have a few questions before we go on to the next segment.
All right.
Kratenko BR2 asks, will RuneLabs ever be given to free-to-play community?
It's something we did discuss, and obviously it's not something we have done. I think if we were ever to do that, then there would need to be some sort of level cap required. But I think we just generally felt that this kind of all the player power stuff that we've done in the past, it's all kind of like member perks type stuff. There's already a lot of ideas going into RuneLabs. I don't feel like we need to increase the floodgates any further. So probably not at this time.
Yeah, of course. If you're a free player and you've got friends who are members, then you can let them post your ideas for you. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's a way of us keeping control of the amount of things that are coming into the system. And we'd like to think our most dedicated players are members.
Seems fair. Miss XP on Twitter asks, on the forums, sorry, asks, with the upcoming poll on Thursday, how will you title the Saren Spells and Prayers and Quest idea, given the limited space that's available for a poll description?
So this is something we've been discussing.
Yeah.
Mainly
fairly.
because
We will title it fairly.
Yeah, I mean that's a good response.
Okay,
let's sit with that.
Oh, that's succinct. And regarding both of the segments we've had so far, if the update schedule is changing to become less frequent, Ballastan asks, will the RuneLabs schedule also have to become less frequent so that we don't end up...
So for the time being, we don't plan, we plan to keep it to 1 a month. But who knows in the future, we like to remain agile. We like to, if something's not working, or we will change things up, so.
The key thing here is that we don't want to be a slave to the schedule. We want to do the right things for the game at the right time in the right size. And we can't. If we're saying we can't have, if the poll comes out to in favour of one of the changes rather than staying the same as it is, then we'd have to reassess everything that we do, and that's not just the content that we create ourselves, as in from our own ideas, but it could also include RuneLabs. It's the same thing, at the end of the day. If you've got, we're going to be, the stuff that we get through from RuneLabs will be more meaningful, more significant, which will require more development time. It's exactly the same issue.
Fair enough. So, going to move on to beta issues just shortly. But first, the merchandise store, obviously, has brought out a couple of new items, which we're not officially advertising at this point, but you are modelling them for us now.
Yeah, well,
so
nice
go
to
on,
get a bit of, I don't think I need to stand up.
Can't remember what mine says. Let's take this to the wilderness.
Yeah.
You've got
1v1 in the wildy.
I'm not wearing merch store stuff.
No.
I'm just wearing my Jagex shirt.
I mean, these ones are kind of PKing themed, but there's a whole bunch of different ones that will be available on the store. Store's coming out just before behind the scenes, I think. So the plan is for it to be launched this week.
Thursday.
On Thursday, and we've got a discount for the first 2 weeks. Is that right?
Well, I have no idea.
Yeah, I believe there's a discount for the first 2 weeks on the store. So if you're interested, I think it's 10 or 15%.
We're getting fingers held up.
We're not quite sure, but it's a significant discount, and it will be there for the first couple of weeks. And lots of the stuff that you'll see on there are kind of designed by JMods and from ideas from the forums. So they're all pretty cool.
Awesome. So, beta then.
Beta.
Coming up.
So actually people might know better than me at the moment, because as I was leaving to come down here, we were talking about updating the beta today.
Yes.
So hopefully that is happening today. If not, it'll be very early tomorrow. So
Mohawk, those who were watching 2 weeks ago will know her as the Grill, has told me that her loot improvements will be going in.
Yes.
For a start.
So we got stream we showed off the looting and the death rework, both which should be going in. In addition, the Ninja team have put in, and I believe it's to do with bank tabs. So there's something. It might be. I don't want to say because I'm not actually remember exactly what they've done, but it's a bank improvement, and I think it's something to do with moving things around.
It's bank tabs, movable bank tabs. Yeah, that's what I was.
So finally,
that's what I said in the BTS recording today.
Good
so
stuff.
Let's hope that's what it is.
And Modpie, who's also in Ninja team, has continued to make some tweaks to combat stuff. So like the two-handed swords and stuff that he did last time, he's changed a few of those again based on feedback, and he's added some further changes. So that's hopefully all going in today, if not tomorrow morning.
Right.
Yes. And with this, so because the death rework, it depends on GE values of items, I believe. We've taken kind of like a snapshot from the live game of all the current GE values. So that will remain consistent, they won't change. But that means when people die and get their stuff back from death, when they buy the stuff back, it will be a value that represents something similar to the live game. But as a result of this, we have to have reset all the live accounts in the beta. So if you're going back into the beta, if you swapped with a friend to get your Noxus staff or whatever, I'm afraid you've lost it. You will have to re-import again and start from scratch as it is from the beta. If that made any sense.
Over again.
Yes, I'm afraid so. And for those who do want to play the beta, then on the main website, if you go to the game guide at the top left, and then you go to ways to play, and then play a beta from there.
Excellent.
So,
and all from memory as well. Well done.
Yes, all from memory.
So
they can see this bit.
That's just you almost got away with it.
No.
In no way.
So that's just about all we've got time for. So last thing to do, competition winner.
Yes. What have we got?
So we've got, and this is for you to judge, so here they come. swap private
Yeah,
chat
that one.
with public chat and watch all the misunderstandings.
Okay.
So for the day, all public chat and private chat
yeah.
swapped over.
Always like wrong chat messages. Yeah, that's good.
Give out free death touch darts. If you try and use it on something, it kills you.
Nice.
Oh, that would be cool. So you could use a death touch on something with a ring of recoil, and it would just bounce back at you. Sorry, I'm influencing your... no, perhaps I'm not. I'm going to say nothing.
So, again, best in-game April Fools we're covering here. So, we've got turn everyone into Brassica Prime.
That's
Like a bit of Brassica Prime.
Full joy, isn't it?
Yeah,
We've got-
I mean, it's not. You've not really been fooled, there are you? You've just been turned into a god. It's not.
We've got every item in your bank inventory and GE becomes a cabbage. We've got everyone's pet appears as a cabbage. I'm sensing a theme.
Yep.
Tell everyone that Yelps has bought the Grand Exchange, and now you can't choose what you purchase. You can only purchase what a random spin chooses for you.
Okay.
Gielinor is flooded, and we need to swim everywhere for a day. Or give every player a "you've been banned" screen at login. Link to put in their appeal leads to a rickroll.
Yeah, that one.
That one.
Yeah.
Wow.
That one or the first one. That one.
So it's between swap private chat and public chat and watch all the misunderstandings go on, and give everyone "you've been banned," and if they appeal it, it leads them to
Yeah,
a
I think they're proper good April Fool's trolls. I'll go for the last one.
All right, so congratulations to baking_bad, whose name is very familiar.
Yeah,
Right?
that name came up last week, didn't it? Did they win last week?
No, that may have been a question they asked.
That may have been a question.
We'll check this out and make sure there's no skullduggery.
I remember
in the meantime,
having a lot of respect for that name last week. Continued respect, Baking Bad.
In the meantime, congratulations, Baking Bad. We'll be in touch to make sure that you have actually won and give you your prize. So that's it from us for this week. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time on RuneScape TV.
Bye!
Bye for now.
Out.
Oh.